First, before I do anything, let's give Aisha another round of applause. And of course, her great sound man and her husband. All right, thank you. There's a couple things I want to do, and I don't want to take up too much more of your time, but I really want to capture your imagination for just a minute. So the first thing I do 4 things before I make any speech. The first one is giving honor to Jesus Christ as Lord and Savior. And I have my wife with me so she can back that up. I do that consistently because I think it's important. In the time that we're living in today, we need to always recognize that without Jesus Christ, we would not be here today. Our country is in attack. While everybody else is coming out of the closet, Christians are going in the closet. And it's time for us to step up. It's time for us to speak up. It's time for us to let the Lord know that we love you, we praise you, we glorify your name in everything that we say and everything that we do. And so part of what the Frederick Douglass Foundation is about is that we're devoted Christians. The second thing I always do is acknowledge my beautiful bride, Latessa Johnson. Latessa, would you please stand up, please? My wife does a great deal of traveling with me, as we were actually in Flint, Michigan this morning. On Thursday, we'll be going back to Grand Rapids, Michigan for another Frederick Douglass Foundation activity or event, as we had one yesterday, and we find ourselves doing a lot more traveling here lately. I must admit that some of the traveling is really nice because we were in Hawaii, starting up the Frederick Douglass Foundation of Hawaii this past August. So to let you know that this feeling that you're getting here in New York is spreading all over the country. The other thing that I think is important is all the veterans, would you please stand up? I don't just want to call you out, I want you to stand up. Let's give all our veterans a round of applause. For those that don't know, I served 21 years in Uncle Sam's Army. I was both an enlisted person as well as a commissioned officer. Finished up in 2005. I have a son that's been in the Army 8 years, so I'm a little older than what I look. He's been to Iraq 3 times. I have another son that's 25. He's a corrections officer. I have a daughter that will be 21 in November. I have another daughter that's 19. I have 2 grandsons and another grandchild on the way. So I am blessed and highly favored. And then finally, what I'd like to do is acknowledge all of you, all of our young people, our singers, everyone else who took the time out. I know most of our candidates have already taken off. And really what I wanted to say tonight was really for them. And so the next time we're going to have me speak before they leave. Because, no, that's not on you. That's not on you, Aisha. Because one of the things that I think is important is because oftentimes our candidates come to want to get our votes, but they don't take the time to get to know us. They run in, they say their speech, and they leave. And what you may not recognize is that I'm also the vice chairman of the North Carolina Republican Party, so see, I can talk about this. I'm the number 2 person in the party in North Carolina. I'm the first black to ever ascend that high in the party structure since the party was founded March 27, 1867, when 101 whites and 46 blacks started the Republican Party in North Carolina. That's something to think about as you think about that we're here in Rochester, where Frederick Douglass is buried. And that's something to think about as you think about all the people that we have in this room. And what's sad for me right now, to be perfectly honest, is that we don't have more people that look like Tommy and I. See, I'm going to talk to you real because we need to have this family conversation. Because as our candidates have talked about wanting to change Washington and maybe wanting to change Albany and wanting to change the local communities, we've got to start changing our mind. We've got to change our attitude. We've got to change our direction. That's what Frederick Douglass was really about. If you haven't had an opportunity to visit our website, you should, because there are 3 things that we stand for very clear in our pillars. One is that we're devoted Christians. We don't apologize for that. The second one is that we're proud Americans. We don't apologize for that. And the third is that we're active Republicans. And we don't apologize for that. But we take on 2 social issues that somehow the NAACP in its infinite wisdom has chosen to avoid. We believe in the sanctity of human life from the womb to the tomb. And we put it on our website. We also believe in the protection of traditional marriage. That means, as my pastor would say, born a man, born a woman, married to one another, one at a time. We make it real clear and real simple. But what's sad is that we come into a society nowadays that we're scared to talk about these issues. You know, we spend so much time wanting to be politically correct. I say we need to be politically direct. We need to keep it real. We need to have real conversations with our young people. We need to be honest. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I'll tell you right off the bat, one of my disclaimers, that I am not an African American. I am not from Africa. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio, born and raised. I'm an American who happens to have a suntan that lasts year round. And I'm not a minority. You see, last time I checked, I'm a Christian and an American, and since we're still on American soil, and they haven't taken us yet, we're still part of the majority. And therefore, please don't call me a minority, refer to me as a minority, because I'm not one. I don't see myself as a minority, never have and never will. And I don't see myself as an African American. Africa's a continent. You know, that's the miseducation. It's a continent. If you're going to give me two continents, just call me African North American. At least I can claim two continents. But we wouldn't do that. And why is all this stuff really important is we think about this kickoff program, and we've heard our candidates, and we know, because a week from today, history will be made. History will be made here in New York. History will be made throughout the United States. Now, the question is, what type of history will be made? You know, Obama ran in 2008 talking about change. Change is inevitable. The funny thing about that word is everybody got caught up in what change is. And I asked my Democratic friends now, do you have the change you were hoping for? Because for many of them, they're not happy. Sad but true. Even those that want to be diehard supporters of them are not happy. If you talk to them one-on-one, they'll tell you, really, I'm not happy, but I've got to have this public image. And we have to stop being about that public image. We've got to decide that we're going to stand for something. Because another man that happened to lost his life in New York said that if you don't stand for something, you fall for anything. His name was Malcolm X. I used to work, my last active duty job that I had in the military was at North Syracuse. So it's kind of interesting to come back to Syracuse. As I was traveling down I-90, I was thinking about the many times I would go back and forth between here and Cleveland. And I was thinking about the many things that came to mind as I think about the history of New York and think about the history of Frederick Douglass and all the things that he stood for. And Aisha told me about the church over here where he used the printing press. And Harriet Tubman was one of his confidants, people that he believed in. There's so many things for us that we could talk about tonight, but really what I want you to understand and what I want you to get out of my short time up here, because I don't want to wear you down. But, you know, it's kind of nice because it's only 7:10. You would think that it's 10 o'clock at night and everybody had to get out of here because they had to go to work tomorrow. Isn't that something to think about? You know, oftentimes we don't put priorities on our children's future. And yet I am very impressed with the number of young people that are in our audience. Because I would tell you, most of the time when I'm out and about and speaking, be it in my state as the vice chair or out speaking as the founder and chairman of the Frederick Douglass Foundation, I normally don't see young people. They're not there. And my wife and I would tell you, my biggest reason for doing the things that I do is because of my grandchildren. It's not even because of my kids. It's because of my grandchildren. Because of the debt that they're being left with. Because of the irresponsibility that's taking place in our government. Because of the lack of engagement and responsibility that we adults are taking today. Too many of us are willing to close our eyes or bury our head in the sand. And why? That wasn't Frederick Douglass. Here's a man who was a slave. A slave. Escaped and came back to America, and as an abolitionist, he not only spoke about his freedom and the freedom of people who look like him, but also the freedom of women, the right of women. And here it is, a man that said, I'm a dyed-in-the-wool Republican. I'll never be a part of any other party. And yet so many people, Republicans, don't know the history of the Republican Party. For surely on March 20th, 1854, when those 20 people got together and said, we must do something against this Democratic Party who wants to keep people enslaved. We must do something. And here it is that most people don't recognize, because Obama has stolen the Republican Party's history, that 1865 was the first year that Republicans advocated extremely hard for civil rights legislation. It was the Republican Party that made sure the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment were passed. But most people can't tell you. Even that song that young brother sang at the very beginning, James Weldon Johnson wrote that song on Abraham Lincoln's birthday for February 12, 1900, for Booker T. Washington, who, by the way, was a Republican. James Weldon Johnson, Republican. There's so much of our history that we don't know, and we expect our education system, which has failed our children. I wonder what Frederick Douglass would say today. What would he say about the NAACP and its craziness? What would it say about the Congressional Black Caucus and its craziness? What would it say about many of our so-called leaders as the Reverend Al Sharpton and the Reverend Jesse Jackson, who, if you can tell me the last time they cited scripture when they came up with any issue, please let me know. Because I challenge it. You see, the reality of it is we've got to take ownership of this country. We've got to take ownership of the direction by which we want to go. We've got to decide that we are all Americans and we're in this together. We've got to become the 21st century abolitionists like never before. And we've got to stop talking among ourselves and really doing what church is supposed to do. It's not about talking inside the four walls. Evangelizing, discipleship is supposed to happen outside the four walls. But too often times we only speak to ourselves, like-minded people. We've got to decide to go into the streets where the people are and give the message. And we've got to stop being scared of one another because of how we dress or how we look. If I had some of our Republicans standing right down here in front of me, if you saw my Virginia president, you would swear, but now she can't be a Republican. If you saw my New Jersey president, you say she can't be a president. She can't be a Republican. If you saw the two white ladies, one that was originally coming out of Texas and one that's in Hawaii, you say, oh, they couldn't be part of Frederick Douglass Foundation. But they are. And so I say all this to tell you that we've got to come together as a family. The Frederick Douglass Foundation was not created to be another separate organization. We're active Republicans. And that's very important because, see, this is my party. You can't invite me to my party. It's always been my party. Now, somewhere along the time, somebody lied to me and had me paying rent on the house that I helped build, but I'm not paying rent anymore. And I'm not telling you you have to move. You just got to scoot over and recognize it's my house. We've got to change our attitude because not until we change our attitude can we change the direction of this country. And please, anybody that said African American, stop saying that. Stop saying it. I'm asking you. Stop saying that. Because your political correctness is political wrong. I'm an American. And when you talk to me as an American, you see me different. Don't call me a minority. When you see me as an equal, you come to me different. It's a different conversation. Stop talking about we got to get into the black community. No, we got to get into all the communities. Our candidates that are running should be walking their behinds in every single community in their respective districts. Not deciding who they're going to pick. Well, I'm going to go into the Republican strong. No, Democrats got to vote for you too. And we've got to start being serious about this within our family. We haven't had these conversations. And this is what our young people have to hear because, see, at some point we're going to have to sit down and let them take over. And that's what Frederick Douglass was really about. He was about making sure there was a legacy. Making sure that we had the responsibility, understanding. And some people may get frustrated that there's not enough people in this room. Well, Jesus Christ had 12 disciples. And look what he did. So don't get caught up in the numbers. Because those people that are supposed to be here are here. And those people who are supportive of the Frederick Douglass Foundation of New York will support the Frederick Douglass Foundation of New York even if they're the only one. All I ask is that you commit yourself to being part of the real change that this nation needs. We've got to take it back. I love our Constitution. I love the flag. It's my flag. And I was willing to die for that flag. And I'm not going to give it up easy. And I would implore each one of you, if you've never read the Constitution, please pick it up and read it. If you join the Frederick Douglass Foundation, I'll send you a copy so you don't have to worry about going to buy one. But the key thing is that we need to make sure that every young person, because we know the school system is not teaching them the Constitution. The school system right now is teaching them everything that's communist, socialist, fascist, and everything else that's wrong. And it's our fault that we're letting the school system do it because they work for us. We don't work for them. So my closing words is simple as this. Very simple. Get out and vote. If you have not voted, please go and vote. It is our responsibility. If you don't vote, please don't call me. I don't have anything to say to you. I don't. I should tell you. So go out and vote. Then after you vote, go and encourage somebody else to go vote. Matter of fact, take them there. Make sure they get there. If you need to walk in with them and watch them, do it. I don't care how old they are. 18 and over, you take them over there and make sure they vote. And then you keep taking people until the last day because, see, November 2nd is not the first day to vote, it's the last day to vote. And we need to start changing our conversation on that, especially among Republicans. And then the final thing is a simple thing like this. When we win in 10, it's heaven in 11. God bless everybody.